prices work. Talking about Venezuela once again to make important banks. They removed the one factor called monetary Hey there, hope all is well. Just want to check in for a quick little RTD news update, wrap up, whatever you want to call it. Wanted to share with you just some interesting details that I've come across looking over the inflation map that I covered a week or two ago. And I noticed a common theme as to the actual price of gold and silver denominated in fiat currencies in these particular countries here. And it looks like on average, according to the heat map, whenever a country surpasses the 20% mark, and there's one or two countries that's not experiencing all-time high in precious metals, but it seems that across the board, the average percentage for the CPI figures that's being stated, of course, they're all understated primarily in the West, but gold always reaches an all-time high. And so I want to share with you just a little bit of a comment by one of the community members on Twitter and my response to that, as well as just give you an idea as to what's going on and how, regardless of the USD price and the euro and the pound price of precious metals, about 1 billion people or so right now are all experiencing extreme consumer price increases. And gold has done a great job of performing as a wealth preservation tool for those that were able to get some. So going to share with you a little bit of headlines and go over the map. But other than that, definitely, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, RTD News for right now. Definitely let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. Definitely love to acknowledge your presence. Thank you for being a part of the community. And as always, before I dive into just a little bit of some things I want to cover, I want to make sure I remind everybody, if you have not, make sure you click that subscribe button as well as the bell notification. Hopefully you are informed, no guarantees, but I'll do my best to try to continue to diversify away from this channel here just because things are becoming problematic as always. But also in the link below are all the alternative platforms where you can connect with RTD as well. And before I move further, this plays into why I continue to encourage people as well as look for ways for people to take advantage of extremely low metal prices denominated in dollar terms is because of the information I'm going to share with you right now. And it is considered a privilege, I think, to be in this type of environment where we have not reached all-time highs in gold and silver in USD terms, just because you can never, in my opinion, have too much. And long as you are subject to the manipulation by the exchanges and the banksters, is definitely a great way of taking advantage and continue to add to your stack. So that being the case, want to definitely make sure I continue to remind people where they can stay plugged in with the channel real quick. For those that are interested, link down below. But the Bullion Max, who is a sponsor, is giving us the opportunity to be able to accumulate this silver stack pack, starter pack. So for those that are interested, definitely encourage you to take advantage of it because prices cannot remain low forever. They can draw out for however many more months or years, but they can't remain forever. And so definitely if you guys are interested, take advantage of that. And also rtd.locals.com. Check in with me there, become a member there, and we can connect on the after live streams on there as well. So definitely good opportunity. And if you would like to support the channel beyond your presence, consider donating monetarily. Any help is definitely appreciated and helps me do things on the back end. And of course, we got the blog. We got the IQ quiz. We have all the other resources needed to keep you plugged in on what's going on. So let's jump right into it. So I want to share with you something that I responded to on social media, but I wanted to just shine more light on this subject matter and how we can learn a lot from what's going on in Turkey in particular. But here is a tweet from someone I interacted with, a part of the community, a couple days ago, and I blotted some things out just focus on the content itself. But it says this was in response out the blue in reference to inflation figures given to us here in the U.S. And the person responded, it says, you have skin in the game because you are sponsored by bullion banks to shield gold on your listeners while you get paid a fee. He says the poor smugs who are buying gold are losing their behinds off. Dollar ain't going anywhere in either of our lifetimes. And then another response was, yet gold is flat while literally every other asset class is going to the moon. What a joke. Gold investors already lost. It's been too long at this point for gold investors to claim victory, even if the price eventually moves to the upside. And so I responded, and my first response was, "Hey, man, you sound kind of mad there. Like, I apologize if you don't have the patience to just ride this thing out because it's a long-term game." But ultimately, one of my responses was, the RTD community is just not subject to people who price their financial futures in USD terms. I'm like, we have a good portion of the audience that's scattered all throughout the planet. And so therefore their day-to-day costs are denominated in different currencies. And I'm like, if you look at what's going on around the world, gold and silver have performed extremely well for some of those nations where CPI figures are extremely high. And then that's kind of why I left it at. And so I'm like, let me follow up on that. So here we are today. I want to talk about this because whenever I see the precious metals activity in the USD terms, I really pay it no mind, just because I realize that the manipulation must remain in order for the banking cartel to continue to push us towards this digital revolution they want to take us to. So we'll never see a true price discovery unless something breaks. But then again, all the pressure is on the Western tools that they've established to manipulate the price. They got to keep this stuff up. But then again, in smaller countries, and as I start off mentioning, approximately a billion or so people in fiat currencies that are quote unquote irrelevant to the average Joe, those individuals there are experiencing extremely harsh living conditions due to the cost of living going up. But then again, gold is responding very favorably in environments where, on average, 20% plus, and CPI figures are that high. And so this is another little tweet that I came across today that really got me to wanting to look at the inflation map further. But this came out in reference to what Turkey did today. They're cutting rates while the rest of the world is hiking rates, and inflation has reached 80% in Turkey. But then again, with the Turkish lira, gold has performed extremely well. And so just some thoughts here. It says inflation is near 100% in Turkey. This is how gold responds: up relative to worthless paper, nearly 3,000% since 2008. Gold is the constant. Always remember that. And so he says Europe, UK, USA now have to try to stop this from happening pretty much everywhere else. And so he was saying he's feeling lucky. And so as you guys can see here, a little visual aid. But then I want to go back to this inflation map. I call this the currency destruction map, just because the brighter the red, the greater the wealth destruction or wealth confiscation because of the CPI figures. And then I was going through a lot of these countries here in dark red, most recently, just because the figures we were given here in the West, they're manipulated figures. All of these figures are understated. I'm pretty confident. But in the West, because they have so much to lose in reference to losing control of the fiat price of gold and silver and all the other minerals, or natural resources, they're going to continue to manipulate down possibly those figures, because the real world, Main Street, everybody here know that we're double-digit inflation when it comes to real-world items, whether it be some food items, whether it be energy costs, housing costs, you name it. We know what it costs for real. But here we got inflation for Canada was, once again, downgraded to 7.6. We have the U.S., 8.5. And one thing that's kind of confusing is what's happening with the UK, how they're at 10.1, and their central bank is projecting 13.1 by the end of this year or beginning of next year. And so one common theme that I noticed is that for all the countries that are in extreme red territory, so we got Argentina, we got Venezuela, we have Suriname, we have Cuba, we have Haiti, right on through Africa, we have Sierra Leone. We got a new article about them as well. We got Ghana and Nigeria and all these dark red countries. And of course, Turkey at 79.6%. Pretty much, except for maybe one. I think it was, let me see, one of these countries, Angola. Angola was the only country that I found that did not have gold in their local currency at an all-time high, but it was up there. And so every other country in red are well beyond the 20% CPI figures, and gold has already set an all-time high in those countries. And so the most recent one, of course, that I want to talk about is Turkey. And so as you guys can see here, Turkey inflation figures that they are dealing with over there has just been going astronomically high over the last year, just like everywhere else. But then once again, people don't consider how the gold price impacts people's lives as well as overall CPI figures. And so just looking at the population of some of these countries as well, that's how I gave you the figure of approximately 1 billion people. So there's 1 billion people right now suffering from most likely the inability to sustain themselves due to the increased cost of living. And gold and in silver has done a great job for those who have been able to acquire them before the price took off, and they were actually able to sustain themselves a lot easier when your cost of living goes up, but the actual metal price in that same currency goes up just as much or greater than, you are able to still maintain yourself. And so in Turkey right now, there's 84 million people that are experiencing somewhat uncomfortable conditions. I actually was trying to reach out to someone to interview them, and due to their inability to speak freely, he declined on connecting with me, but he was, talking to me behind the scenes, and he was talking about how life in Turkey has become that much more complicated. And he's an entrepreneur who does stuff online, so he's been able to get compensated in dollar terms. But he was saying just on average for his family and things like that, it's getting tougher. And my thing is, if people would realize and recognize the times, and just especially in USD terms and in Euro terms and in British pound terms, for right now, be able to recognize that it's a awesome privilege for the manipulation to continue on, just because when it breaks, the moment that this heat map turns 100% red, because it will eventually, that's a sign that all heck has broken loose. And so right now, it is in the Western nation's best interest to make sure they maintain the manipulation and actually probably downgrade some of the CPI figures just to make it appear as if things are under control and getting back to some type of normalcy, or central banks are able to maintain and control the price figures. And so in the meantime, I just wanted to chime in on how that guy was saying that due to just everything been priced in USD terms, it appears on the surface that there's people that are being basically taken advantage of. And so, right, it's just interesting how I'm told, my man, just don't focus on USD. There's 1 billion other people out here who were able to get gold ahead of time and are doing extremely well as far as preserving their purchasing power. And so that's a little bit of that. I was going to go through some of the actual countries on the heat map, but you guys, take my word for it. I encourage you to go to tradingeconomics.com and just type in some of these figures here. And then you can also go, and I was looking at some of these countries in real time. So here we have the Ukrainian hryvnia. And so over the last, 3 years, ever since things jumped off there, and in particular, in the last couple of months, gold is at an all-time high as of right now, and that's Ukraine. So that's one of my countries that I was looking at on the map here. They're at 22% inflation right now. Iran, we know Iran, gold is price is high. Pakistan, we got Sri Lanka, all these other countries here. So any of these extremely red countries here, gold has already surpassed their all-time highs. And so just something to be reminded of, that regardless of the manipulation, regardless of the CPI figures that we're being given, you may not really want to see gold take off to the levels that those other nations are experiencing, because that will require a actual actual official announcement of a Federal Reserve announced CPI figure of over 20%. And imagine how much worse things will be in other areas of our lives if they actually gave us a low ball figure of 20%, even though we know the real price on the streets are definitely double digits and probably in the 20%, depending on what you're measuring. So anyway, let's keep moving. A couple more articles here. And this all was brought about based upon what Turkey did with the fact they're lowering rates. And then I was also thinking about how Erdogan and Putin are working hand in hand towards that next monetary structure. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Erdogan is allowing inflation to run completely rampant so that they could actually begin pricing or somehow, some way bring gold back into the fold. And so here's another little visual aid here that I wanted to bring to your attention just to show you more of the actual numbers. So here we got Turkey inflation at 79.6%, and the Turkey main interest rate, they actually cut an entire 100 basis points in the midst of all of this. So while the Western world is trying to protect their own interest and central banks' own interest by calling themselves fighting inflation by raising interest rates well below what the actual rate of inflation is, that's disguised and designed to prolong the system that they have in place, where I believe that Erdogan is literally trying to decouple the old monetary system so that he can be a part of whatever the plans are to bring in the new monetary system, which would definitely have something to do with gold, because gold will be a major factor in what they're looking to do. Because as we can see right here, over the last decade plus, they have not been trying to fight the price of gold denominated in the Turkish lira. And so as of right now, it has already surpassed all previous highs, and the little small corrections they've had along the way, it still continues to go up, which is an indication that the fiat paper game in Turkey is up. So it's time to move on. So that's why I believe Turkey's cutting rates, which just because it goes completely against the grain as to what the conventional monetary policy would be if he wanted to try to sell to his own people that he's fighting inflation. He's not fighting it, he's letting it rip. And therefore, gold is ripping as well. So think about if that was to happen in any of those other countries I showed that are in the red. A lot of these other countries, they're calling themselves fighting inflation while losing control, and gold is skyrocketing. The only country right now that has put up a somewhat of a fight happens to be Zimbabwe, if I can find it. And so Zimbabwe is 256% inflation rate. They just recently introduced the gold coins. And I saw an article talking about the Zimbabwe dollar. The fiat dollar is strengthening. And so a lot of traders who are speculating on the Zimbabwe dollar, they're losing out because the currency's appreciating because of the reintroduction of gold into the system. So everything is right on schedule. Just don't look at it solely in USD terms is my whole point in this video here. And then on to another article that just flew under the radar. Sierra Leone knocks zeros. I think they knocked 2 zeros off their banknotes after all this crisis of living conflict they've having over there, as it says here, to recalibrate the currency so that people don't have to carry large bags similar to what they did in Venezuela as well as Zimbabwe in order to make a transaction. So they're trying to make it easier for people to carry a couple small notes rather than have to carry bundles of currency. And then just to show you in Sierra Leone, the figures, let me share this with you real quick so you guys can see. So in Sierra Leone, where we at? It is around here. Where we go? Oh, I got to find Sierra Leone. Where'd it go? I lost it. There we go. Inflation rate is 28%. And so if we look at Sierra Leone in gold terms is off the charts right now. 28% inflation in Sierra Leone. Gold prices at an all-time high of 24 million of their currency units for one single ounce of gold. And then just to let you know how many people are in Sierra Leone, I've been going back and forth looking at the stats where we got Sierra Leone. There's 8.2 million people in Sierra Leone that are combating extreme living conditions due to the destruction of fiat currency. So just a heads up for those who are able to get a hold of some real world assets ahead of time, in particular gold and silver, you would fare well as things go astronomically high CPI figure wise. So just wanted to check in for a quick minute. Don't want to keep you any longer. But while the West is attempting to prolong the system, here's an indication of what their plan has been all along. It says ECB says that CBDCs are important in the continuation of the monetary system. And so the EU, the US, and the UK, they have they have to try to keep this thing going to usher in the CBDCs, which is a natural continuation, as they even admit in their own little white paper there, of things they want to do to continue to stay in control. While it appears that the West is deviating from that plan, as well as wanting to roll out CBDCs as well, but they want to have more of a say-so when it comes to their natural resources that come from the earth. So CPI is definitely decoupling us from the fiat paper game. And I just wanted to shine more light on this and let you know that whenever we get about 20% based upon other countries, that's when we see all-time high in gold figures. So the question is, do you really want to see an official CPI print of 20% plus here in the U.S. in order to get your all-time high in gold and silver price? And my thought is, no, I don't. I don't want to see an actual sticker price of 20% or higher, because then we know that they're telling us it's 20%. It's really 30, 40, maybe 50%. And of course, we're going to fit it in a lot of other areas. Therefore, it'll make it so that actual all-time high in gold and silver won't be as enjoyable, just because it'll basically equate to purchasing power, whatever it is that we're having to use it for in order to sustain ourselves, whether it be energy, fuel prices at the pump, you name it. And so just be careful what you wish for. Appreciate the fact that we don't have an actual figure in double figures as of right now, and that the price of gold and silver, whatever it is today, is still extremely low in comparison to the price in fiat terms of what it is in other countries. So as of right now, 1954 for silver, 1758 in USD terms, it's a blessing. Appreciated that for what it is. So anyway, just wanted to connect in for a quick minute and let you know that you don't want to see all-time highs in gold, silver, and USD terms, because that means everything else around us will be 20%, 30%, 40% inflation numbers. And there's no hiding that. There's no hiding that at the grocery stores, no hiding that anywhere else in your life. So just be thankful for what we do have and continue to stack and get your weight up, because you can never have enough, weight in your inventory or in your treasury. But anyway, I just want to check in for a quick minute. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And look forward to bringing it back to you again later on tonight if I can. But Mike laughs at my misspellings. Barlight Broker, when I'm ranting or doing these live streams, I rarely glance to the chat, just because I'll lose my train of thought. And then also I just do check to see if my microphone is still on, because in prior rants, I was talking the whole video and my damn mic wasn't on. So the goal is to get out as much as I can. And I didn't even cover half the things I wanted to cover just because it'll take too long. But you get the gist of the idea. You definitely don't want to see 20% inflation. Was my whole point of having this video. So anyway, be blessed, be safe. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Oh, my goodness. Barlight Broker, you're something else, man.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.